The name sounds like an elite British country club brand, designed for lords hunting in the Scottish mist. But the truth is far more fierce. It was born in the suffocating, dripping darkness of a British prison cell, baptized in the fury of the Indian monsoon, and built by a family that refused to let an empire monopolize the sky. In the early 1910s, a brilliant Indian nationalist named Surendra Mohan Bose returned to Bengal. He was not an ordinary youth. He had travelled across the oceans, earning degrees in chemistry from Stanford and Berkeley. But instead of taking a lucrative job under the British Raj, he joined the underground Swadeshi movement. The British state quickly branded him a rebel. He was thrown into the bleak, damp cells of Hamirpur jail. As the relentless monsoon battered the iron bars of his cell, Surendra watched a heartbreaking sight. Indian soldiers and postmen, forced to serve the colonial machine, were marching through torrential downpours with absolutely no protection. They were shivering, drenched to the bone, and coughing up blood from pneumonia. The British imported high-grade waterproof trench coats exclusively for European officers. To the Raj, Indian lives were cheaper than a yard of treated canvas. They had colonized the land, and now they had monopolized the clouds. Behind those prison bars, listening to the thunder rattling his cell, Surendra swore a silent, burning oath. He would weaponize the rain. When he was finally released, Surendra did not have a capital, no factory, no blueprints. All he had was a chemist's brain and a fierce rage. In 1920, inside a cramped, suffocating outhouse on Nazir Ali Lane in South Calcutta, he huddled with his three brothers, Ajit, Jogendra and Bishnupad. Their mission? To fuse rubber to cotton fabric and defy the rain itself. In the 1920s, working with raw rubber in the tropical heat of Bengal was a nightmare. The rubber would melt into a sticky, foul-smelling glue in July and crack like brittle glass in December. Day after day, the brothers inhaled toxic chemical fumes, blind testing formulas on a makeshift boiling stove. Neighbouring businesses mocked them. The British have massive mills in Manchester, they sneered. How can 4 Bengali boys in a shed stop the monsoon? The brothers did not reply. They just stoked the fire. Finally, they perfected a secret, grueling vulcanization technique. They realized that if treated properly, water would roll off a human's back exactly as it does from a duck's oily feathers. They called it the Duckback process. In 1940, they formally incorporated as Bengal Waterproof Limited. They did not just sell rainwear, they slapped a defiant warning on every single box. Entirely Indian, Indian capital, Indian labor, Indian materials, and Indian brain. When the Second World War broke out, the British military desperately needed waterproof gear for the jungle warfare in Burma. They looked around and realized the only factory capable of producing indestructible tropical-grade waterproofs was Bengal Waterproof. The very empire that had jailed Surendra was now forced to beg his family for protection against the rain. For the next 50 years, Duckback became the literal armor of the Indian middle class. You could not navigate an Indian life without the distinct, heavy, comforting smell of a Duckback product. If your family went on a vacation on a steam engine train, your mattresses and pillows were rolled into a massive, rugged canvas Duckback railway hold-all, strapped tight with thick leather belts. If a family member had a burning fever, a blue rubber Duckback ice bag was placed on their forehead. And every June, millions of Indian children were packed off to school in heavy, dark blue or khaki Duckback raincoats with matching hoods. We walked to the school looking like a marching army of shiny black beetles, completely impervious to the cloud bursts, smelling of industrial rubber and freedom. But as the 1990s bled into the 2000s, a silent tragedy struck. The Indian economy opened up. Imports from China flooded the streets. To a new generation, Duckback's heavy, indestructible rubber looked archaic, clunky and old-fashioned. The company slid into severe financial crisis, choked by debts. The pioneering Bose family eventually lost control of the empire they had built from a prison cell. Most iconic brands would have died there, buried in the graveyard of corporate history. But a brand born in a jail cell does not surrender to the passage of time. Duckback underwent a quiet, brilliant metamorphosis. They realized that while civilians wanted flimsy, colorful plastics, the protectors of the nation needed something that could survive hell. Today, reborn as Duckback India, the company has retreated from the flashy mall storefronts and gone deep into the shadows where it all began, the defense forces. Step into the high-altitude bases of Siachen, the secret naval docks of Vizag, and you will find Duckback. They are the ones manufacturing the pressurized G-suits for Indian Air Force fighter pilots, specialized submarine escape suits, and heavy-duty inflatable tactical boats for Navy commandos. They went back to the barracks to protect the very soldiers Surendra Mohan Bose wept for 100 years ago. Duckback did not survive because of foreign investment or Western machinery. It survived because 4 brothers were willing to inhale toxic fumes in a Calcutta shed, challenge the technological monopoly of the British Empire, and teach a colonized nation how to walk through a storm with their heads held high. The next time the sky turns the color of bruised iron and the power cuts out, listen closely to the rhythm of the raindrops hitting your window. For somewhere in the static of the storm, the phantom click of a vintage Duckback button is fastening itself, reminding us that long before we learned to run from the rain, an empire tried to drown us and we simply learned how to float. Hats off to these true patriots.